This story is called The Christmas Child. And the only way I know that, the only way it tears me up too, and I'm telling you. The only way I can do it is to act it out. Mr. Harley Taylor scrunched his overcoat to shield his shoulders and his neck from the chill of the early December morning. And he grabbed the reins of his buckboard and he shook his two horses, old Charlie and old Baldy, into their early morning trot. Mr. Harley was leaving his Harlow farm in the northern reaches of Carteret County and going to Beaufort to do his annual Christmas shopping. Mr. Harley always said that buggy time was thinking time. And as he rolled along the ruddy little dusty road that they called the old Newbern Road, we now call it Highway 101, he thought about how many blessings he needed to be thankful for this particular Christmas season. He thought about his sprawling two-story farmhouse right there on a good 160 acres of good bottom land on Clupper's Creek. Then he thought about his family, and he thought about his 4 boys and his 4 girls. And then he thought about his wife, whom he loved so very much and always referred to as Miss Alita. Mr. Harley was going to Beaufort to get just the right gifts for those 4 boys, those 4 girls, and Miss Alita. He got within about a mile of Beaufort, and he saw himself in his carriage going by the poorhouse/orphanage. The building is still there on Highway 101, just before you get to the intersection. And he noticed how the orphans were out in the yard running and jumping and playing. Mr. Harley always marveled at how cool crisp weather brings out the best in puppies and ponies and little children. But then he noticed an orphan over to the side that wasn't playing with those other young ones. And he stopped his buckboard where he could see that little boy, and he studied that little boy. And he saw tears rolling down a filthy, tear-stained face. And he listened, and he heard those sobs that were deep down inside. And that little boy was going, Mr. Harley stopped his buckboard and walked through the gate, was greeted by the caretaker of the orphanage as one of the most prominent farmers in all of Carteret County. And Mr. Harley said, "How much for that one over there by the fence?" And the caretaker said, "Mr. Harley, you don't want little Norton over there. He ain't much good for farm work. Let me pick out one of the better kids that we have here." And he rather indignantly, Mr. Harley said, "I ain't talking about farm work. I asked you how much for that one over there by the fence." And the caretaker said, "Well, according to the rules of the county, if you clear up his room and board, you can take him with you." Mr. Harley paid the man, knowing that was probably too much. He said, "Now tell me about that little boy over there." He said, "Well, his name is Norton Talmadge Lewis. His parents died in a tragic boat accident just around Thanksgiving. Didn't have any family or any friends that could take him in. So they brought him here, and they just kind of dumped him here. He don't work any, he don't play any, he don't eat much. He just kind of looks down that road and pines away. We get some like that, you know." Mr. Harley bit his leave and walked across the yard amongst the playing orphans and walked over to little Norton and reached down and put his hand on Norton's shoulder. He said, "Boy, you see that fine team of horses I'm trying to drive to Beaufort? A man gets mighty tired driving a team of horses like that. Do you think you could help me drive that team of horses to Beaufort?" And little Norton, still crying, wiped his nose from his fingertips to his elbow and said, and pointed to the big house and said, he won't let me go." And Mr. Harley said, "I've just talked to him, son, and he said you can go anytime you've got a mind to." And with that, little Norton squeezed Mr. Harley's hand as if it meant to be there all his life. And they walked amongst the playing orphan, and in no time they were on the buckboard, and little Norton was driving old Baldy and old Charlie towards their destination in Beaufort. Mr. Harley, when he first got to Beaufort, took little Norton to Miss Sally Davis's boarding house on Front Street, downtown Beaufort. She had the tenderest fish stew and the warmest beds in all of Beaufort. She also had baths you could buy for a nickel. Mr. Harley said it took a quarter's worth to get little Norton cleaned up properly. And once she gave him some left-behind clothes, they went all about Beaufort town, finding just the right gifts for those 4 boys and those 4 girls. And if one thing little Norton noticed is that Mr. Harley didn't buy a present for Miss Alita, whom he obviously loved very much. Well, that night about 10 o'clock, the buckboard poured in the yard of the Harlow farm, and all them young'uns poured out on the porch, and one of the bigger young'uns said, "Look at there, Daddy's letting somebody drive his buckboard. You got to be mighty special to drive Daddy's buckboard." And with pride, little Norton pulled on the reins and went, "Whoa, Baldy, whoa, Charlie," and stopped the buckboard right in front of the porch just as Miss Alita appeared. Mr. Harley reached around and picked up little Norton by the waist and set him down right in front of Miss Alita. And Mr. Harley said, Miss Alita, for your Christmas present, I made you the mother of a fine young son. And Miss Alita said, I thank you for a painless delivery. And Miss Alita wrapped her arms around little Norton and all those children, all the people that witnessed that scene, those great tears of Christmas joy burst from their eyes. To this day in the community of Harlow, when you talk to the old timers, they all say, of all of Mr. Harley Taylor's 5 sons, the one that was most like him was little Norton, the Christmas child. Thank you. God bless you.